So there was like another like trailer for Dead Cells Return to Castlevania, and you can straight up play as Richter,
Oh, wow.
enforcing the idea of them making a Castlevania game. Speaking of which, there are rumors of a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake and a new Castlevania game. So this is all from a GameSpot article by Oisin Kunke, I believe that's how you pronounce it. According to Andy Robinson, speaking on the VGC podcast, Konami is planning to have a pretty big E3, claiming that a new Castlevania is set to appear alongside the much rumored Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. There's a new Castlevania in addition to Dead Cells DLC they announced at the Game Awards, Robinson explained. And there's this much discussed Metal Gear Solid remake, which I also expect them to finally show. In terms of the older Metal Gear Solid games potentially being playable on modern platforms, Robinson said that as of 1 year or 2 years ago, being told to do so in some shape or form was in the cards, but it's now less clear what the situation is. I would imagine that Metal Gear Solid 3, the remake, is going to be somewhat a test bed for that. Robinson said. He also noted that Konami is opening up to collaborating with more developers. Though it wasn't clear if he was just talking about Silent Hill series or the wider Konami portfolio. I mean, they've already teamed up with Dead Cells, and they're doing a Silent Hill remake with Blooper Team. So the fact that they're doing a remake of Silent Hill feels like it's likely that they'll do a remake of their most popular series, Metal Gear. So yeah, I'm excited. I love Metal Gear. I'm currently in the middle of playing the original Metal Gear Solid 3. I finished the second one not too long ago. Yeah, after I finished the second one, you heard me talk about it every single time we had a team meeting.
Yep.
I would bring it up.
Yep.
I love that game. I love Metal Gear so much. Like I just couldn't stop talking about that game. Metal Gear changed my life. Look, when I played Metal Gear Solid 4 a long time ago on my PS3, it changed my life. I love Metal Gear. It's so good. I hope they bring the originals to modern consoles so that people can play the originals as well. But that remake sounds like it's going to be good. If it happens, which I feel like it might. Because I feel like it's a no-brainer to do a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. And I'm excited to see what the new Castlevania is going to be. If it's going to be more like those other like third-person action games that they made, or if it's going to be a side-scroller.
I hope it's a side-scroller.
Yeah, but I feel like I should mention an idea I had about remaking Metal Gear that I thought was cool. I'm going to go to Reddit real quick because I made a Reddit post about it and I need to see it to remember exactly what I said. All right, here we go. So, this is my idea about the order in which the Metal Gear games could get remade. And I have two because a lot of people in the comments have changed my minds about certain things. So, I started with Metal Gear Solid 3 as a no-brainer since it's the earliest in the timeline and is considered the best by most of the fan base. And then a Metal Gear Solid 5, either like a remaster or a director's cut. Because some people say that Kojima never got a chance to finish it. So in a perfect world, Kojima will be able to come back and put the finishing touches on the game. But push comes to shove, it would just get like a remaster. Metal Gear Origins. Now, this would be a remake of the first two Metal Gear games. Not Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake. They would be one game. They were like MSX games on like PC, and they were like pixel games. And they were some like some of the earliest stealth games made. But they're completely different from all the other Metal Gear games. And this is of all the Metal Gear games, this is the one that could use a modern remake the most because it's an old pixel game where you like hid behind boxes and stuff. So
right.
But there's an interesting story to tell in those games, and you could squeeze them all into one game and make a really good remake. Then it would go straight into Metal Gear Solid 1 and then 2 and then 4. Which the reality is 4 only really needs a remaster. Because Metal Gear Solid 4 still looks good, despite coming out in like 2008, 2009. But it's stuck on PS3 because, I'm sure you know the PS3 architecture and games like that just, they can't be made backwards compatible because the PS3 was weird.
Right.
So they would almost need to make a remake to bring Metal Gear Solid 4 to modern consoles. And if they were to remake it, Metal Gear Solid 4 is my favorite Metal Gear. It's one of my favorite games of all time. My third favorite game of all time, actually. But there are two things I would love for them to change. The first one, I'm not going to go into detail on, and it's this one romance that it's not a bad romance. It's the execution that's really weird. They could fix that. Secondly, though, this one is a gameplay change. The game, there's in the menu, you can buy guns. In the main menu, you just pause at any time and buy guns and ammo. I hate it. It makes the game too easy, and there's no way to turn it off because this is an old game. The accessibility features in this game are non-existent. So there's no way to turn it off. There's not really a way to adjust most things in that game because it's an old game. And I would love for them to make the Drebin shop, which is what it's called, because you get guns from a guy named Drebin, to make it more like something like the merchant from Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 8, where he's at set locations on the map. And the only way you can get ammo is to either find ammo scattered about the map or going to that shop to buy ammo and buy guns. And they need to decrease the amount of guns you can buy by half because there are too many guns that are too similar to each other and are essentially a waste of money. And another thing is that you get way too much money way too fast, so you can buy the best weapons almost immediately once you unlock them. So that's another thing that messes with the kind of difficulty balance of the game. So it needs to be more like Resident Evil, where it's the good guns are expensive. There are less guns overall, so you don't feel like the changes between them are incremental, and that there are big changes every time you buy a more expensive weapon. But also at the beginning of the game, you get a gun that you can attach a grenade launcher, a shotgun. You can give it a scope. You can put a silencer on it. It's essentially an all-in-one weapon. And the problem with that is, what's the point of having the option to buy a bunch of different weapons if you got a weapon that can already do everything? I think that game should instead be like a new game plus weapon, where after you beat the game the first time, you unlock that weapon, or you either unlock that weapon way later in the game, because then having that gun at the very beginning kind of makes all the other guns null and void, because what do you need any other gun for if you got this modular gun? So yeah, that's what I would change. That would make Metal Gear Solid 4. But anyway, going back to other stuff.